An exceptionally large and powerful storm system is about to explode across the central United States, and this is going to be a multi-day, coast-to-coast weather event. We're tracking what could become one of the most significant spring storm systems of the season, affecting nearly every region east of the Rockies. This isn't just one storm, this is a sequence of threats that's going to unfold over the next several days, starting with severe weather in the Central Plains, transitioning to a massive squall line impacting the entire East Coast, and finishing with a widespread winter weather band across the northern tier. Let me be clear about something before we dive in. If you live in these regions, you know spring storm season. March and early April bring severe weather to the South and Midwest. That's not unusual. What makes this particular system notable is the scale, the intensity, and the fact that it's going to affect such a large area in a relatively short time window. Here's the big picture. A powerful, low-pressure system is going to organize rapidly over the Central Plains, drawing enormous amounts of Gulf moisture northward. This is the kind of atmospheric setup that meteorologists watch very closely because it has all the ingredients for significant severe weather. The storm is going to develop explosively over Texas and Oklahoma, then track northeastward through the Midwest. As it moves east, scattered thunderstorms are going to consolidate into an organized squall line that could stretch from the Gulf Coast all the way to New England. Behind this system, a surge of cold air is going to sweep in from Canada, creating a broad band of winter weather across the northern plains and Great Lakes. This is going to be quite a temperature roller coaster for millions of people. Let's start with the West Coast and Pacific regions, because this is one area that's going to avoid the worst of this system. California, Nevada, and the Pacific Northwest are going to see relatively quiet conditions. Some light coastal rain is possible, but nothing severe. The main event is happening well to the east. The West gets to sit this one out, which is probably a relief after the recent atmospheric river events that impacted Southern California. Now let's talk about where this storm is going to be born. The central United States, particularly Texas, Oklahoma, and the Southern Plains, are where this system is going to first develop. We're expecting rapid intensification as warm, humid air from the Gulf collides with a strong upper-level disturbance. Dallas and Houston are going to be in the initial development zone. The atmosphere over East Texas is going to become extremely unstable, creating conditions favorable for severe thunderstorm development. This is classic spring severe weather territory for Texas, but the scope of this event is going to be impressive. The primary threats in the initial phase are going to be large hail, damaging winds, and the possibility of tornadoes. The Storm Prediction Center is already highlighting this region for enhanced severe weather risk. If you're in Texas or Oklahoma, this is the time to review your severe weather safety plans. As the system organizes and moves northeast, the Midwest is going to become the focus. Chicago and St. Louis are positioned right in the path of this developing storm. These cities are going to see prolonged periods of heavy rain, strong winds, and embedded severe thunderstorms. The rainfall amounts across the Midwest could be substantial. We're talking about widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain, with locally higher amounts possible. When you get that kind of rainfall over such a large area, flooding becomes a significant concern. St. Louis, Kansas City, and Indianapolis should all prepare for a stormy 24 to 36 hours. The severe weather is going to be widespread, and the system is going to be moving at a relatively slow pace, which means prolonged impacts. Now here's where things get particularly intense. As this storm continues organizing and moving east, all those scattered thunderstorms are going to merge into one continuous squall line. This is going to create what meteorologists call a derecho potential, which is a long-lived, widespread windstorm. The squall line is going to extend from the Gulf Coast through the southeast and all the way up the East Coast. We're talking about a solid line of severe thunderstorms that could stretch from Louisiana to Maine. This is the kind of weather feature that shows up dramatically on radar and satellite. Atlanta is going to be one of the first major East Coast cities to experience this squall line. The timing looks like this system will move through Georgia during the late evening or overnight hours. Heavy rain, frequent lightning, and damaging winds are all expected. From Atlanta, the squall line is going to race up the I-95 corridor. Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York are all going to get hit by this intense line of storms. The impacts are going to be significant, with the potential for widespread power outages, downed trees, and travel disruptions. The East Coast severe weather threat is going to be focused on straight-line winds. These squall lines are notorious for producing widespread damaging winds over hundreds of miles. Wind gusts could exceed 60 to 70 miles per hour in the strongest segments of the line. There's also the possibility of embedded tornadoes within the squall line. While not every storm in the line will produce tornadoes, the ones that do can be particularly dangerous because they're often rain-wrapped and difficult to see. Charlotte, Raleigh, Richmond, and all the cities along the coastal plain need to be prepared for severe weather. The timing is still being refined, but it looks like the worst conditions will move through during the overnight hours into early morning, which is always the most dangerous time for severe weather. Boston and New England are going to be the last to see this system. By the time the squall line reaches New England, it may be starting to weaken slightly, but it's still going to pack a punch. Heavy rain and strong winds are expected across southern New England. Now, while all of this is happening across the south and east, something completely different is developing across the northern tier. Behind this massive storm system, a broad area of winter weather is going to develop from the Dakotas through the Great Lakes. Minneapolis and Bismarck are going to see the transition from rain to snow as cold air wraps around behind the storm. This isn't going to be just a few flurries. We're talking about a widespread area of accumulating snow that could create hazardous travel conditions. The Great Lakes region is particularly vulnerable to this winter weather band. Milwaukee, Green Bay, and areas across Michigan could see significant snowfall. The exact amounts are still being determined, but this could be an impactful late-season snow event. For those of you in the northern plains and Great Lakes, you know that snow in March isn't unusual. But after experiencing the severe weather to your south, getting hit with winter conditions is going to be quite a shock to the system. The timing of this winter weather band looks like it's going to develop as the main storm system pushes off the east coast. So we're talking about late in the week, possibly extending into the weekend for some areas. Ontario and Quebec in Canada are also going to see significant impacts from this system. Heavy rain in southern Ontario could transition to snow in areas further north. Montreal and other Quebec cities should prepare for a mix of precipitation types. Let's talk about specific timing and what to expect in each region. The severe weather outbreak in Texas and Oklahoma is going to kick off first, likely during the afternoon and evening hours as daytime heating destabilizes the atmosphere. By the next day, the Midwest will be dealing with the core of the storm system. Heavy rain and embedded severe weather will be ongoing from Missouri through Illinois and Indiana. This is going to be an all-day event for many Midwest cities. The East Coast squall line is going to arrive next, racing up the coastline during the evening and overnight hours. This is when cities from Atlanta through New York are going to see their worst conditions. Finally, as the storm exits into the Atlantic, the winter weather band is going to develop across the northern plains and Great Lakes. This is going to be the cleanup phase, but it's going to create its own set of challenges. Travel is going to be extremely difficult across large portions of the eastern United States during this event. If you don't have to travel, this is a good time to stay home. The combination of severe thunderstorms, heavy rain, and then snow is going to make roads dangerous. Airlines are going to see major disruptions at hubs across the South, Midwest, and East Coast. Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, and the New York area airports should all expect delays and cancellations. If you have travel plans, stay in close contact with your airline. The power grid is going to take a beating from this system. The widespread wind threat means power outages are likely across multiple states. Some areas could be without power for several days while crews work to restore service. One thing I want to emphasize is the rapid transition this system is going to create. Areas that see severe thunderstorms and warm conditions one day could be dealing with snow the next. This dramatic temperature swing is going to catch some people off guard. For the northern tier, the snow following severe weather to your south is just part of living in these regions during spring, but it's still going to require preparation and caution. Road conditions can deteriorate quickly when snow falls on wet pavement. The Gulf Coast, particularly Louisiana and Mississippi, are going to see some of the most intense rainfall. The squall line is going to be drawing enormous amounts of moisture from the Gulf, and that's all going to get wrung out as the system moves inland. Flash flooding is going to be a concern anywhere this squall line moves through. The rainfall rates in the strongest storms could exceed 2 to 3 inches per hour. That's enough to cause rapid rises in small streams and flooding in urban areas with poor drainage. South Carolina and North Carolina are going to be in a particularly vulnerable position. The squall line is going to be near peak intensity as it moves through the Carolinas. Both states should prepare for significant impacts from severe weather. Looking at the broader pattern, This is classic spring severe weather season for the central and eastern United States. We're at that time of year when these large-scale storm systems develop as warm air from the Gulf clashes with cold air from Canada. The scale of this particular event is what makes it noteworthy. It's not just one isolated severe weather outbreak. It's a multi-day, multi-threat event that's going to affect different regions with different hazards. We're going to be monitoring this system very closely over the next several days. Forecast details are going to be refined as we get closer to the event, but the overall pattern is clear. Significant weather is coming for a large portion of the country. Make sure you have multiple ways to receive weather warnings. Charge your phones, have flashlights and batteries ready, and know where your safe place is in case severe weather threatens. This is a serious weather event that requires preparation and attention. Stay weather aware, and we'll keep you updated as this major storm system develops and moves across the country.